live IELTS. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you from Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody has had a great weekend and is looking forward to a fantastic finish in 2019. As usual, this class is brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Check us out there. And if you are learning for the general version of the exam, please check us out at gieltshelp.com. On both of these websites, we have loads of materials and strategies to help you achieve those high band scores. I'll show you those real quickly while we wait for some members to join in. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. Click that big red button to join our premium package. For the general IELTS, look for this website here with the green background at gieltshelp.com. And again, click that big red button to join the premium package, which includes over 100 hours of video lessons, a fully interactive course for your phone, tablet, PC, and original practice exams. If you have questions about the IELTS exam or our products, just send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Hi Firdavs, hi Roshni. Our first couple of members joining in today. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, Firdavs. I went for a nice long swim earlier today, so I'm feeling rejuvenated and energized. Hi, Rodrigo. Members, this is a Q&A session, so it's a question and answer class. I thought it would be a good way to finish the year for members. So if you have questions, Rajveer, Rodrigo, Firdavs, Roshni, now is the time to think about it, write them down, and we'll go through them nicely step by step. Again, there are no silly questions. If you're wondering about an idea, someone else probably is also. All right. While we wait for a couple more members, a little bit more of a preamble. You can get our books from Amazon in electronic and paperback version. You'll see 2 exam books for academic IELTS. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS, and 2 books for GE Helps General IELTS. So you can look for those as well. Hi, Priyanka. So start thinking about those questions. Any question is okay, members. Specific questions about different parts of the exam or general questions on strategies, anything works. The schedule for the upcoming week from today until the 3rd, today's class, this question and answer class is going to be followed by a speaking part 3 class for everyone in about 90 minutes. And then there will be no classes from tomorrow until the 2nd. I will be back on January 3rd with speaking part 1. So take note of that. I'll definitely post the upcoming schedule again on the YouTube community bulletin board. Rodrigo's asking, can the paper-based test be written in pencil? The answer is yes, it can. And it's actually a good idea to use pencil and eraser so that you can correct yourself a little bit more clean-like. So first question is by Rodrigo. Thanks, Rodrigo, for that. So Rodrigo's asking, can the paper-based exam be written with pencil? Okay, so Rodrigo, it's a passive, so exam be written with pencil. The answer is yes, it can. In fact, it is a good idea to use. The test center should provide you with your writing utensils, Rodrigo, so you shouldn't have to bring your own. But I mean, you can. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Nobody's ever asked me that. Can I bring my own pencil? The test center should provide you with the writing utensils, and they should provide you with a pencil. So in fact, it's a good idea to write the exam using a pencil and eraser as it is cleaner than with pen. Especially if you're making corrections. It is a good idea to use a good quality pencil and eraser. I know that sounds funny, but it can actually save you some marks. So make sure you're using a good pencil, good eraser, Rodrigo. It's a good question. All right, Roshni Kunte says, in the listening, especially in the multiple choice, I read it, I feel I can answer. Then as soon as the audio starts, I forget the question while looking at the options. Roshni, okay, that's a very common question for many students, the multiple choice and the listening, and we've talked about this. Okay. So Roshni says, in listening, multiple choice, I'm just going to write that as MC. I have trouble answering the question. I forget the question as soon as I look at the choices. What do I do? Okay, that's a good question, Roshni. So here's my answer. Okay, there are a couple of points for this one. Number one, spend. So as soon as you see a multiple choice question in the listening, spend more time to review it than other question types. Especially focus on the question and paraphrase it. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So here's one of our exam books. And I can jump to a listening here, Roshni. Just give me one moment to show you a multiple choice question. Okay, so this might be familiar. So here you have a multiple choice question. Here's the question, okay, Roshni. So let's say that the audio says, okay, now you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 before we begin. So you have about 20 seconds to look at questions 11 to 15 or 11 to 16. In that time, as soon as you see this kind of a question, approximately how long will the tour be according to the guide, you're like, okay, it's multiple choice. Don't pay attention to the answers, okay? So in the review time, don't really pay attention to this because that's not going to help you too much to look at this. Instead, you want to focus here, all right? Now, this is in question format, Roshni. So approximately how long will the tour be according to the guide? Now, remember your different ways of paraphrasing, okay? So you have synonym paraphrasing, you have antonym plus negative paraphrasing, you have grammar paraphrasing, descriptive paraphrasing, and idiomatic paraphrasing. Those are the 5 used in the exam, okay? Now with this one, it looks like the paraphrasing in the audio will most likely be grammar because they don't really ask questions, they make statements. So what you will probably hear is the tour guide says that the tour will be. Okay, so when I read this question in the preparation time, quickly in my mind, I change this into a statement instead of a question. The tour guide says that the tour will be, okay? Or the tour guide states, let's go with that. That the tour will be. So I change it into a statement and now I'm listening for that time, right? So I'm focusing on the time. you might want to think about what the tour guide would say. So if the tour guide is speaking, okay, then the tour guide might say something like, the tour will be about, and then some length of time, okay? So when you look at the multiple choice, you want to quickly try to paraphrase it, at least in one other way in your mind in that preparation time. Does that make sense, members, what I'm trying to tell you there? So don't worry about this. A lot of students waste time reading the answer choices for multiple choice. That's not good because you have to hear the answer yourself. It's almost impossible to just catch the correct choice, especially because these are also paraphrased. Okay, so you cannot really depend on trying to catch the correct choice. Instead, you should depend on trying to catch the correct answer. And to do that, you focus on the question or the statement and try to paraphrase it in your mind in one way. Try to do that, Roshni. So practice doing that, and I believe that that should help you to improve your score. Hi, Hassan. Does that make sense to the other members as well? So Priyanka, Rodrigo, Rajveer, does that make sense how you should focus on that multiple choice question? Okay, here's another good example of this. So this is a kind of multiple choice question also. It says, what for? Or what are the 4 features of the resort? So here you have to choose 4 answers from 8. Okay, so 4 of these are correct, 4 of these are wrong. Again, you don't want to focus on the answers. That's not going to help you because they will likely be paraphrased. So what you want to focus on is this statement. Okay. And again, paraphrase it. So members, how would you paraphrase this? So in your review time, you don't have enough time to write it down, only in your mind you can paraphrase it. How would you paraphrase this in your mind so that you're thinking about what you might hear in the audio? Can you give me an example of how you would paraphrase that? What are 4 features of the resort? How do you think you might hear that in the audio, followed, of course, by the answers? Okay, what do you think? So I'm looking for a sentence here, a paraphrase sentence for this. Roshni, definitely try to give me an answer here. Rajveer, Hassan. So Rajveer says 4 characteristics of the resort are possibly. Yeah, so Rajveer says it might be paraphrased as 4 features of the resort are. And then you're listening for those 4 features. Now, that you can do some note taking for, okay? Roshni says they might say the resort has 4 characteristics. The resort, Roshni. So the resort has 4 characteristics. Maybe. I think there's an easier way that you might hear this. Okay, think about it if you're talking about the resort. Now, Hassan, you're saying, what are the 4 features of the resort? That would just be the question. Remember, students, that usually questions in the audio come across as statements. Okay? So practice changing questions into statements so that your ears can catch it better. Okay? Hi, Preeti. I think that the one way you might hear this, which is a little bit simpler, is something like this. The resort includes. Okay? That's a very simple way for one of the speakers, the tour guide in the audio, to list the restaurant or the night cafe or whatever is included in the resort. So they will say, oh, this resort includes a night cafe as well as several restaurants. And then as soon as you hear, okay, so it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. The main point is to think of the statement instead of the question. Okay. Rajveer, I like it. So Rajveer says another way might be the 4 specialties of this resort are. Yeah, those are all possible, okay? The resort includes, again, remember students that the IELTS uses natural English. So most English speakers, when they're describing what is included in a hotel, in a resort, in a vehicle, they will usually use the word includes. So the resort includes, okay? All right, and then for this kind of multiple choice question, because this one's even trickier than when you just have one answer from 3 or 4, here you have 4 answers from 8. So for this one, you have one more step, which is taking some notes. So if they say night cafe, just go night cafe as soon as you hear it, okay? And then if they say a number of restaurants in this audio, in fact, I think they say 7 restaurants. So use the number 7 and then restaurants. Okay, and even if you can't get all of it out, just the beginning, that's fine. Then you know that one of the answers will be E, a number of restaurants. So here, you can take some notes as you hear it or mark it as you hear it. It might be easier to take the notes than trying to search through this, okay? That can be difficult for the eyes to quickly catch the right answer. So one extra step for this kind of multiple choice is to even just take a couple of notes for the correct answers. Does that make sense? All right. So I hope that answers your question, Roshni. That's definitely what you want to practice for multiple choice questions. That's the best way that we have seen students improve their success rate answering these questions. So again, Roshni's question was, in the listening, multiple choice, I have trouble answering the question. I forget them as soon as I look at the choices. So as soon as you see a multiple choice question in the listening, spend more time reviewing it than other question types, especially focus on the question and paraphrase it. Point B, change questions into statements that you will likely hear in the audio. Okay. C, for multiple choice questions, take notes as soon as you hear, and take simple notes, okay? Simple notes as soon as you hear the answers, and then circle the correct choices at the end of the listening section. When you transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Okay? I hope that makes sense. That should help you with those multiple choice questions. All right, that was a good question. Roshni, a lot of students have that question. You have to practice that, Roshni. Okay, it's very important, students. You have to practice it. All right, I see some more questions, so I'll get to some more. Again, members, this is your chance to ask me any question that you have, so just fire away, okay? Again, any question is okay. So for Dovs, I saw your question. For Dovs Nabiev is asking, can you tell us about the Cambly app, especially discount? So for Dovs, Cambly is our partner and in some of the videos, so they sponsor some of those videos. Cambly is an app which basically lets you pay for speaking and speaking practice with a native English speaking tutor anywhere, anytime. So the idea for Dovs is that you download the app, you install the app, and then you pay by the minute. So every minute has a certain fee, and I believe the fees are different depending on which country you're in. It is an international company. They're based out of San Francisco in the United States. And we have some discount codes on some of our videos. Some of them might not work anymore if they're old, but the latest or the newest discount codes should work. So if you look at the most recent speaking video releases for Dobbs and you look at the discount codes in those videos, then you can get a 15-minute free trial in most parts of the world except for India. India has different parameters for using Cambly than other parts of the world. I'm not sure why. You'd have to check that. If you have a question, just send it directly to Cambly. I believe they have a support team as well that can help you out with that. And then also there's a 10% discount code. For those students who are using Cambly from India, if you look at the videos on our channel with speakers from India, that will have special discount codes that you can use in the app for India. Okay. The ones that are other speakers, like Turkey for Dobbs, for example, is one that we just released, or Vietnam. If you use that Cambly code, then you have to use it on your computer, and then you can link it to your app. Does that make sense for Dobbs? Is that kind of what you're looking for, or was there a specific question that you had in relation to it? You can also send me an email about that for Dobbs if something's not clear. But again, any question that you have about Cambly, the best people to contact is Cambly. So just go to cambly.com, send them an email, let them know where you are, what part of the world. That will help them to give you a better answer. And you can even say, I just watched a video on Academic English Help that had a Cambly coupon, but it didn't work. Can you please give me the coupon from that channel? Okay. So for Dobbs, you can do that. If you are still having problems, let me know. All right. Okay. Let's see. So for Dobbs is asking another question. For Dobbs says, can you tell me about the deficits of the computer-based exam? Sure. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a question that many students might be curious about. So for Dobbs' question is, what are the disadvantages of the computer-based exam? Okay, that's a good question. All right. So number one, you are more restricted to follow the pace of the audio in the listening section, which means, students, that in the paper-based exam during the instructions, because there's no hard rule that you cannot look at the topics of section 2, 3, and 4, as I showed you in many classes before, in the paper-based exam, oftentimes students at least have a chance to just take a quick glimpse or glance at topics for section 2, 3, 4, which helps you to think about those. In the computer-based exam, you can't do that. You're more restricted because the computer actually holds you to the section that you're currently on. So you, let's just say maybe sections 2, 3, and 4 come as a little bit more of a surprise once you get to them. And that can cost you a little bit in the listening section. So you have absolutely no chance to take a glance at the topics of sections 2, 3, and 4 until you actually begin these. Okay. So, So that's one of the disadvantages. The other one that might be a disadvantage for the computer-based test is that you really need good touch typing skills. So I always say for students, I think that's the deciding factor. If you can touch type and if you're comfortable touch typing, then the computer-based exam is good for you. If you're not good at touch typing, then I don't recommend doing the computer-based exam. So remember, the computer-based exam demands that you have good touch typing skills. This means you should not be looking at your fingers while typing, but rather at the screen and thinking of ideas. Okay? You don't want to be in a situation where you're having to think in English, answer questions, and you're focusing on the position of your fingers. Okay? If you're doing that, then just try to do the paper-based exam. All right? If you really are adamant about the computer-based exam, learn to touch type or improve your touch typing skills. As I mentioned before, if you look for a program online called Rapid Typing Tutor, so just Google this. It's free, and it is a great piece of software to help you learn touch typing and English. So while you're typing, of course, that software is in English. I believe it's rapidtypingtutor.com, maybe. I'd have to check. Let me take a look at that. So rapid typing, yeah, that's it right there. So it's rapidtyping.com. Okay. All right. And what's really nice about that piece of software, rapidtyping.com, is that you're typing first letters, then words, then sentences, then paragraphs using English. So it's a fantastic way to actually improve your grammar skills, your vocabulary, and your typing skills all in one go. So that's a fantastic piece of software. If you haven't used it yet, I highly recommend it. Okay, I learned great touch typing myself years ago with that piece of software. Okay. All right. So those are the primary deficits for DOBS. Remember, the speaking is the exact same, so you still have your speaking interview in the computer-based exam, the same as with the paper-based exam. So the main difference is that. Plus, of course, one other one that you might consider, especially if you have sensitive eyes, is you might fatigue faster in the computer-based exam as you are looking at a backlit screen. Okay, so it is still more tiring for the eyes, especially when your brain is working, to stare at a screen for nearly 3 hours than if you're looking at a piece of paper. Okay, so it's more tiring for the eyes. A lot of students don't think about that, but it's absolutely true. Okay, so especially if you have difficulties with your eyes, then that might be even more true for you. So, but those are basically the main differences. Otherwise, there are some advantages as well, like you can copy paste, you can reorganize information in your writing a little bit easier, more cleanly, right? So You don't have to worry about your penmanship in the computer-based exam. Of course, the letters are going to look great. So those are some of the advantages, right? So both the computer-based and the paper-based exams have advantages and disadvantages. All right, so let's see what else we have. Some questions. Rodrigo is asking, and it's a good question, Rodrigo, is asking, can I use an analog watch on the exam? Yes. Yes, you can. So, of course, what Rodrigo is asking here is, can I use a wristwatch that's analog, so that has the, like this, right? So that's what you're asking, Rodrigo, is can I use this type of analog watch? Yeah, absolutely, you can. And it's a good idea. Do not use a smartwatch. They will not let you wear that. If they see you wearing a smartwatch, it's a very good chance that they'll kick you out of the exam, okay? So be careful about that, okay? So yes, you can use an analog watch. Do not bring a digital or smartwatch to the exam, as you may be expelled. Okay, if they don't catch it in time. But if they see that it's a normal old analog watch and you're just using that for your own timing, now it might not be necessary. There is a rule that the exam centers should have a clock on the wall that is working and shows the accurate time and can be seen easily by every candidate. So there is a rule like that. So you don't necessarily have to be, checking your watch. But if that works better for you, Rodrigo, then that's fine. But yes, they do have a watch in the room, okay? So they do have a watch in the room. It should be accurate and easily seen by all candidates. And in regard to this, Rodrigo, it's a good question. Make sure to reference the watch or clock in the reading and writing sections, meaning spend 20 minutes on a passage in reading only, and 20 and 40 minutes on task 1 and 2 respectively. Again, as I mentioned oftentimes before, task 1 is worth 1/3 of your writing mark, task 2 is worth 2/3. Always start with task 1, it should be easier. It's 20 minutes per passage in the academic IELTS. If you're doing the general, then for sections 1 and 2, you're spending 10 minutes on each short little passage and 20 minutes on section 3. Okay, so that's your timing. Make sure to do that. Sadly, oftentimes I get feedback from students who sit the IELTS and they say, oh, I didn't finish my task 2. It's actually very common for me to hear this from students where they say, so students will send me an email with this question: Sir, I ran out of time in the writing section for task 2 because I spent too much time on task 1 and I didn't pay attention to the clock. The examiners, the proctors, don't tell you when the 20 minutes is up for task 1. They just say you have 1 hour for task 1, task 2, and it begins now. That's it. They don't tell you when that 20 minutes is up. So don't expect that. Okay, it's very important. Don't be like, oh, I'm sure they'll say, so I'll just wait for them and I'll just keep writing, and then you get lost. No, don't do that. Okay, they won't. So pay attention. Okay. And then the question that the students have here is, can I still get a good band score? So this is a common question I get in emails. Sir, I ran out of time in writing section for task 2 because I spent too much time on task 1 and I didn't pay attention to the clock. I didn't finish my essay. This is often what I get. I didn't finish the essay. I only got to the end of body paragraph 1. Can I still get a good band score? I probably have received an email like this at least 20 times in the last year. Okay, the answer here is it's very difficult. Probably not. Okay, even if you have good writing skills, you're probably only going to get a band maybe 6, maybe 6.5 with really good writing skills. If you don't have really good writing skills, you'll probably get a band 5, maybe 4.5 in this situation. Okay, so be really, really careful. Okay, all right. So good question about the time and the watch. Priyanka's asking, sir, I find it difficult in paragraph matching. I read nicely, still get confused in the given options. Priyanka, are you asking about matching information to the correct paragraph? In that case, you have to use visualization. Okay, when you read those paragraphs, you have to use visualization and you have to keep a mental log of what is in each paragraph. I can't go into that in too much detail because that would take up a whole 1 hour just to focus on that. I did that before in some classes, so just take a look at some of the videos, Priyanka, on the channel that are with reading, and you will find some that deal with that paragraph matching. Okay, the key is visualize the information, Priyanka, and keep a mental log of what each paragraph is about. So you should do that anyway, especially when you have this type of question. So the question is, I have trouble with matching information to the correct paragraph question. Okay, for this one, so again, Priyanka, visualize always. Visualize the information that you read and keep a mental log of what each paragraph is about. Okay, that will help you. And again, there's some videos on that. So check that out, Priyanka, okay? All right, let's see some other good questions there. Another one by Priyanka is, sir, what is the actual difference between academic and general reading? There's quite a bit of difference, Priyanka. So academic reading, I'll show you here real quick. Are you doing general, Priyanka, or are you doing academic? So the academic reading will have 3 passages. So it'll actually say, in the academic version of the IELTS, it'll say reading passage 1, and you have 20 minutes for this. It'll say you should spend about 20 minutes, questions 1 to 13. And in the academic, you have about a page and a half, a page and 3/4 worth of text, roughly about 700, 750 words like this one, and then it's followed by 13 questions. And then you have another reading passage. It's also about 700, 750 words. And then again, it's followed by 13, 14 questions. And then you have a passage 3, and then that's also The vocabulary, the topics of the academic reading tend to be more challenging. So Priyanka, you need to build a greater vocabulary base for the academic reading, okay? General reading, it's more general topics, like how to use a vending machine, for example, or how to buy a movie ticket or choose the movie that you should go see, as where academic, they're more academic topics. And the format is also different, Priyanka. So in the general, I don't have the general book open right now, but in the general you have what's called reading sections. You have 3 reading sections, and reading section 1 and reading section 2 have 2 articles each that you take 10 minutes to do. Of course, you have less questions. You have about 6 or 7 questions per article for sections 1 and 2. Okay, just give me one moment here. I'll have to get you back. The camera decided to stop, so meanwhile, you can have a look at my daughter when she was about 2.5 months old, a few years ago. Okay, just give me one moment here. The camera actually told me it had an error. All right, so there we go. Awesome. Okay. Rajveer has a really good question. So Rajveer is asking, how can I... Priyanka, I hope that answers your question about the general reading. Rajveer has a question. Rajveer is asking, how can I improve parallel grammar skills? That's a really good question, Rajveer. Okay. How can I improve my parallel grammar skills? Excellent question. So especially for students who want to get a band 7, 8, 9 in the writing section, you need to have parallel grammar, okay? What does parallel grammar actually mean, okay? So parallel grammar means that your sentences contain similar grammar elements. So for example, this morning for breakfast, I ate a sweet banana and an apple. Okay, so this is an example of a sentence that does not have parallel grammar. Okay, so this morning for breakfast, I ate a sweet banana and an apple. So the reason it's not parallel grammar is because my list here contains an adjective and a noun, but then the next element here, apple, is just a noun. So here I have adjective plus noun. Now, of course, this is a very simple example here, Rajveer. I realize that, but just bear with me. And then here it's just the noun, okay? In clear, high-quality communication and in literature, so if you talk to an English professor or a literature professor, they will explain to you that you should have the same elements in a sentence. It just reads better, sounds better, is more clear when it comes to, or is clearer when it comes to communication. So this should read, this morning for breakfast, I ate a sweet banana, and a sour apple. Okay, so now I have parallel grammar because now I have an adjective noun and I have another adjective noun. So this morning for breakfast, I ate a sweet banana and a sour apple. This sounds a lot better than this. And of course, it gives more clarity. This is definitely something that you need to do in your essay. Now this, Rajveer, I'm going to get to what you're writing, so I see what you're thinking. Don't worry, you're going ahead of me, but I'll be there. So this is parallel grammar within a sentence. Okay. Now, secondly, okay, you should also have parallel grammar among sentences. Okay? So ideally, in good writing, you do not want to be jumping around with your grammar in all different kinds of grammar forms. Okay? So you should have parallel grammar among sentences. This means that there is grammatical and tense consistency among the sentences of your essay. Okay? So if I write the sentence, I'll give you an example of that. I'm going to keep it simple here. So this morning for breakfast, I ate a sweet banana and a sour apple. Tomorrow, or however, yesterday, I had eaten a bowl of cereal instead. Nevertheless, tomorrow I will avoid breakfast altogether. Okay, so this is definitely what you do not want to have in your writing. And I have seen this with students. Okay, so a lot of students tend to jump around with their tenses. So they'll write a sentence that deals with the past, and then a past perfect, and then a future participle, and then they might switch back to present tense, and it becomes very awkward for the reader and quite confusing. And confusion on the IELTS exam is really bad, Rajveer, and I'm guessing that's why you're asking me about this, because parallel grammar helps to avoid confusion, okay? So you shouldn't do this, okay? All right, so instead, you should focus on writing your task 2 essay mostly or as much as possible in the present tense using present, present continuous, present perfect, present perfect continuous. Okay. And focusing on these. So don't jump around, okay? You want to keep your essay present for the most part, so avoid jumping to the past and the future as much as possible, okay? Now, how do you do this? So how? Okay. Proofread your work. Okay. So proofread your work. Check for tense, active, passive voice confusion. Another point to avoid. I think some students really force passive sentences into their essays because they want to show that, hey, I can use passive voice. That's great, but you can't just randomly force the passive voice into a sentence, okay? You can show your passive voice skills more in task 1, not in task 2, okay? Most task 2 should be written in the active voice. Rajveer, does that answer your question? Is that kind of what you were looking for? Okay. Proofreading is definitely it. So when you proofread, if you see yourself, let me give you a bit more information here. When you proofread and you realize that you used will, the future participle, then think of how you can change it to a present tense. Okay, so that's what you should do, all right? So proofread practice, definitely have parallel grammar within your sentences and among your sentences. That's very important for coherence, for flow, for cohesion. Really good question, Rajveer. All right, students, on that note, that was a fantastic question. For Dobbs, yeah, that's a tricky one. I'll answer that one really quickly as well. So for Dobbs says, which online websites are more affordable and usable for correcting essays? So that's a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you there, members. So which services are affordable for essay correction? Okay. On our website, and we're not shy about it, so on aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general, we charge 6 cents per word for essay correction, score estimate, and feedback. Okay. Now, some students say that's quite expensive, right? So some students will say, wow, okay, like 150 word task 1 equals $9 US to correct, explain, give feedback. Sure. Now, there's only one thing I can say here for Dobbs, and that's basically you get what you pay for in most cases, okay? So think about it like this, students. You get what you pay for. In our case, to get a native English speaker, so to have a native English speaker with good writing skills, which means at least college level, correct 150 word essays, they will not do it for less money. Okay, that's just a simple fact. Okay, minimum wage in British Columbia, that's my hometown, it's $12 per hour. That's if somebody's working at McDonald's as a cashier. Okay, so there's just simply no way to have someone work for 20, 30 minutes correcting an essay, giving feedback, even 15 minutes, and pay them less than $7, $8, $9. It just doesn't work that way. If you're paying less money, you're getting lower quality work. Here's food for thought for Dobbs. If you're a band 5, band 6 student, it might be okay to use some cheaper services for writing correction, because even if it's a non-native English professional, then they will still do an okay job and they can still help a band 5, band 6 level student. But if you're a band 6.5, 7, and you want to get a band higher, or you want to improve more, then you should be looking to use truly professional services where they're actually catching those more high level mistakes, if you will. Does that make sense for Dobbs? So there are a lot of different editing, proofreading services online. You have to do your research. You have to make sure that it's appropriate for your level, what you're choosing. If you have a higher level skill, like if I'm naming names here, I would say Rajveer and Hassan have quite high level writing skills. Rajveer, Hassan, you should be using native English speaking experts to proofread your work because you're not going to get a lot of benefit otherwise. So you're just kind of wasting your money. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So I'm really telling you what I feel is the genuine truth here. All right. Okay. Students, I have to stop there. That's all the time for today. Members, a fantastic year behind us. I'm looking forward to another fantastic year ahead of us in 2020. I've seen an amazing improvement in a lot of your thinking, in your English, and the way that you're able to express yourself in English. Preeti, great work. Priyanka, excellent work. Rajveer, Ferdavs, fantastic, always with good comments, good questions. Keep it up, students. Hassan, really, really good. You're really pushing for that university level English. That's nice to see. Again, for our viewers, check us out at aehelp.com for help with the academic IELTS exam, and glshelp.com for help with the general. Join our premium packages. It's absolutely worth spending a couple dollars to really improve your skills and do the best that you can on your exam. In 30 minutes, I will host one more class, which will focus on speaking part 3 of the IELTS exam. Everybody will be able to join the chat. Again, if you have some questions I wasn't able to answer in this class, you can always send them to my email as well, okay? Otherwise, check out our websites. Lots of answers in the blogs and forums there also. You're very, very welcome, Rajveer. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I will see most, if not all of you, in 30 minutes for the last class of 2019. Much love to all of you. Keep up the good studies. Adrian signing out from Budapest.